Hello there, Phil the Practical Gardener again. This particular tip is about growing trees and shrubs for the form that you desire in them. And here I'm looking at two different aspects. One, that when you choose your plant, it should lead itself to the form that you desire it to grow into. That is its natural way of growing. And also that you are able to prune and maintain it in that particular form, because they always do require some degree of maintenance over time. And I'm going to use as my example today to start off with this shrub that I have beside me, which is a Sciadipitys verticillata or Japanese umbrella pine. Now this naturally grows into a tree. In fact, the largest tree of this kind in my country actually is just a kilometre or two from where I live. However, in my case here, I didn't want it to grow into a tree, partly because there is an overhead wire directly overhead, and also I wanted an open expanse in front of my house whereby the keynote features are the tall palms that I have here, and the other plants are lower but they're dramatic foliage plants, such as this one here and the succulent that you can see growing there. And the Japanese umbrella pine fits along that with its dramatic dark green needles. To be able to maintain this effect, I wanted to keep it at a shrub level rather than allowing it to grow into a tree. So what I did this morning, I came to the tree which was growing up to about here. I trimmed off the central leaders that were going to grow up into a tree form, and I cut them to side branches so that these ones would retain the role of the more vertical parts of the plant. So I'm going to look at the different aspects and then we'll finish off with a little bit of channel discussion. So let's get into it. Some plants, such as this mature dwarf spruce, can grow for years without growing much in size and are best left alone. However, other shrubs and trees intrude on their neighbours' overpaths, so may need drastic treatment. Sometimes it's better to remove an over-vigorous branch at its base, rather than cutting back all the shoots on a plant. Consider both the natural form of the plant and also what you want from it. For instance, apples, birch trees and fir trees naturally have a strong leader, so it is best to allow that rather than trying to force it into an unnatural form. However, these trees can still be pruned to prevent them from becoming too large. Sometimes you can cut that leader back to a lower vertical branch which can take over the role of leader if you want to restrain the height. Other natural shapes are a ball shape, as with this mandarin, and a vase shape, as it's been easy to maintain on this plum. As you can see here, I can safely remove the upper branches of the plum without destroying its natural form, and it will continue to fruit for me. Winter can be a time to tidy up deciduous plants while the structure is visible, particularly cutting back large branches that have grown beyond their allocated space. This apple tree is a good example. I'm also doing structural pruning over winter with this grape. However, as with many plants, a lot of training for basic form and size can be carried out through the growing season, starting from mid-spring, when the first flush of growth has been completed, and over summer, when there is often significant growth. In the case of ornamental plants, this means that the plant can reclothe itself with attractive green foliage. Your first steps should be to remove branches or shoots that are dead, diseased or crossing over each other. Suckers, shoots growing from the roots, and water shoots or vigorous upright growths should also be removed, as they will become a nuisance and seldom add value to the plant. Many conifers and some other shrubs won't regrow from twigs or branches that have lost their live, usually green, foliage. Therefore, it may be important to trim them regularly and lightly if you want to retain their form but not allow them to grow too large. Thuya or arbor vitae and chemisicypris or false cypress, and also junipers, often have fans of foliage. These can be trimmed back to a small side shoot, which will then grow to retain their attractive form. Keep a clear area under trees and shrubs rather than having foliage hanging low to the ground. As can be seen with this mandarin, this allows access for gardening activities and removes a potential refuge for weeds. Also, foliage sweeping the ground will be susceptible to disease attack. This is also the case with boundary shrubs, as can be seen with this hedge. It also goes for larger shrubs that have been planted for privacy and shelter, as the area under and behind them will readily become infested by weeds. Trees planted as specimens or on patios, such as this jacaranda in my courtyard, should be trained above head height for safety and to allow for leisure activities underneath. So these are some ideas that you might like to consider. Don't forget, by the way, to like this tip and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, that you will be sure to see other tips as they become available. Now, I do have or am planning a range of tips on trees, shrubs, and also a range of fruits, which cover different aspects of this, often specifically for those types of plants, as I've shown for the grape and wee while before. This is actually tip number 96, so I'm actually growing the range that I have. If you look at the list, you can see that I have 26 playlists on different aspects of landscaping and gardening. So you should be able to, if you look at the playlist, be able to find something that relates to particular problems or issues or garden development that you might be facing. So thanks very much for watching this through to the end.